was speaking his speech as a senator in University of Nairobi. He said that every nation has got its national interest. So he told people, Americans will not come here to help you just because you are Kenya. And he told Kenyans, align your interest with American interest. And then you succeed. Even in marriage, don't do the same. Your wife has an interest. Align your interest with her interest. You stay together. You disalign it, you'll quarrel forever. Like I shall tell my wife that there's one rule here, that we are not here to sink. Yes, that we must not sink. Once we have agreed with that rule, then we can fight left and right, but we won't hurt each other. Because if you hurt me, we sink together. If I hurt you, we sink together. That is the rule of the thumb. So even in this engagement, that's why Ruto and Gachagua, they never knew they are sinking together. That's why you had Kufa Makanga, Kufa Dereva. Because there's no way Makanga can survive and Dereva dies if they are driving on the same vehicle. Because if you don't get enough money for the day, the owner of the car wants the money. The matatu owner wants the money. So if you sabotage your driver because when Makanga, mtalala njaa. So Kufa Makanga, Kufa Dereva, because every coin you collect, you share. So this is the point. So interests are there. And anyone telling you they have no interest, their interest is to make you feel they have no interest. But then that is an interest already.
Budan, do you have something to add before I ask Dixon?
That was in reaction. We are doing the work of God out there. But I've also interacted with some close enough to know that many of them are in it because of the offering they collect every Sunday and the tithes they collect every month. Not because they care about any human being. So they are just people, men and women like us. So whether we go this side or the other side, anyway.
Yes. I'm a Catholic, and that statement is offensive.
A very good afternoon and welcome back to Havana Media. My name is Boniface Owino, and as usual, I'm going to be your host for today. Now, I'm very glad here once again to host these great men of the country, and also being joined today by one of the Gen Zs. At least now he'll also tell us their side of the story, considering the fact that things are happening in the country here and there. We also like to listen on what he's going to say. But of course, we know very well that every Monday we normally have the Breaking the Political Barriers interviews, which normally happens with Professor Fred Ogola together with the Honorable Dan Lukorito, the 1 million, 2 million guy. But I'll just give them time to introduce themselves. Before we jump back to our discussion, I'll start with the further end. Prof.
Yes. It's afternoon.
Yeah,
I'm sure Professor Fred Ogola. I'm a governance expert. I'm a lover of knowledge. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. The Gen Zs.
Oh, thank you so much. Happy to present the youths and the Gen Zs in this great platform. Dixon Alwatch is my name, and I think we are going to sell well. Thank you.
Yes, Dan Lukorito here. I'm happy to be back this Monday and looking forward to discuss these matters. I'm a financial consultant. Thank you.
Thank you very much for telling us what you do, because some people are normally wondering, this guy who is saying that he wants to become, is a honorable, being forced to become a honorable. What does he do? You are a finance. Now we have got professor, is a, I don't know what to say, but also have a Gen Z, also have a financial expert. Now, Prof.
Yes.
You are a lover of football.
Yes.
Football match consists of how many players?
22.
22?
Yes. A match. Yes.
Match, yeah, football match.
Yes.
Has got 22 players.
Yes.
And then what happens if these two players, the 22 players, are put in a field without a ball and they're told to play?
Of course, then that's not football. Because there must be a ball and then there must be the foot. So that's the foot without the ball.
I think Prof is wrong. There are actually 25. 22 players, the two lines, men and the referee, for a game to go on.
No, match.
The match itself. The match itself.
Yes.
Dixon?
It's 22. Yeah, 20 the 11 players from the other side and the 11 players from the other side.
Without a referee.
Yeah.
Prof, you wanted to say something?
I heard somebody was giving this funny analogy on. I saw someone saying, "Why do they play 45 minutes every? You know why they play 45 minutes?
No, maybe you tell us what your analogy.
They say they play 45 minutes because at any given time, there are 45 balls on the field. You understand what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can he stop there?
At any given time, there are 45 balls in the field. Yeah, that's why they play for 45 minutes each for every ball. Each minute for every ball on the field. That's what I had anyway.
That is what we had. Okay, guys, I want us to just go direct to our discussion. And I will start with the Prof.
Yes.
This issue of abductions, killings, people disappearing. And yesterday, in fact, I wanted to handle it this way. Yesterday, the sitting CS, Muturi, had a press briefing. And he was talking negatively about the government, the regime that is serving. What made what is it that is making Muturi to hold a press briefing? Is it because he have realized that the ship is sinking and therefore he wants to jump out of it before it sinks?
First of all, Boniface, let me clarify that it's not unusual for somebody inside the government to speak in this non-positive manner. It's just that for a long time since William Ruto became president, it's been difficult to get voices of this dissenting voices. That's why you even see everybody's being abducted. Even he confessed that even his own son was being abducted.
Yeah.
Remember during Kibaki, there used to be a lot of dissent within government. And when you can't self-critic, then you cannot go anywhere because we have been having everybody being a yes person. So I think maybe Honorable Justice Muturi is trying to lead other people within government to come out and self-critic, and that is how the government can work. I'm sure even I was brought up in a family, you can self-critic. Have you been seen in church? People can self-critic. Even in communities like, let's say, the Kikuyu communities, people have different views. Yeah. In Luo Nyanza, people have different views. In among the Kaya, they have different views. There's nothing wrong with dissenting voices inside the government. Even if you go to ODM, there are dissenting voices inside there. Even UDA. Why not have dissenting voices inside a government? Because there's a rule of the thumb that says that how many ministers in the government? There are 23 cabinet secretaries, isn't it? If they have a cabinet meeting, or if at all they even have to agree all the time, it means at least no one is thinking. Because how can 23 people agree on everything? It's impossible. Can you imagine a wife and a husband, 2 people only, don't agree on everything? How can 23 people agree on everything? So first of all, as a governance expert, for me, that's a positive thing. And I hope the president takes that thing positively. And he can say that hard advice must have been taken out of love. And I think she'll help the country. But nevertheless, I believe that the president will take it negatively. And when you hear people now saying Muturi is now washing dirty linen in public, I think maybe he must have tried to wash them inside the bedroom. Then he was not allowed. Then he started to wash them inside the sitting room. Then he was not allowed. Then he had to move to the parking. Then he came out of the gate. It's when now we are seeing that he has been trying to wash some linen. And people ask questions. You ask a good question. Why now? Yeah. He was trying to wash them inside. And it was not working. So then eventually when it comes, it cannot be understood. Then he said that people have been waiting to hear what is the direction. Meaning that this is a question he has battled with for a long period of time. And it was high time now he come and say, excuse me, for him to go to the camera and say it, he must have said it behind the curtains. Understand? Before your wife comes out to say you are a useless husband, he must have given this feedback from the bedroom to the sitting room to the parking until now it's outside the gate. So I think that is a good thing to do. I just want to see that Kenya should now not see that Kenya Kwanza is divided. because Justin Muturi is a Kenya Kwanza person.
Yeah.
He has been even Attorney General.
Yeah.
He has been Solicitor General. Now he's a CS in this government. And people even said, why not just resign? No, you don't resign. You just stay there, make the statement, and now resignation will be the next level. Maybe we have not seen the president respond to him, but I've seen DCI responding to him by saying that all those abductions are being investigated and they're very advanced. Now the question is, does the DCI sit in the cabinet?
They don't.
Who are in the inner circle of Kenya Kwanza? At least the cabinet secretary in the inner circle. How can a cabinet member not know what the DCI knows? And if the DCI knows, why not brief the cabinet first to be the first to know? Are the DCI only agents of the president? So only the president is briefed, but not the cabinet secretaries. So this raises question on the functionality of the government. And I want to say that Justin Muturi's statement should not be read to be personal. It shows you how dysfunctional the cabinet is, dysfunctional the government is, how grossly incompetent the government can be, that now calls upon somebody from inside the government to come out to give us information that should be consumed within the government to execute. When I was Kibaki's economic advisor, there was 2 rules Kibaki used to give us. One rule, when you have intelligent information, give it and no one should force you to explain to them the source of the information. Why was this important? It was to allow people to give disclosure information without pressure and power to prove. Because we told the president, if I give you information, you have the will and without to know whether I'm right or wrong. So you don't tell me, today, this happening. If you think I'm lying, ask Boniface. No, that was not. They just tell them this is happening. The president knows how to know whether I'm wrong or right. The second thing we were supposed to say was that before you escalate anything outside, you have to know you tell the right person. And the president was very clear. There are information you need to know first, and there are some people need to know first. For example, you are not allowed to go and tell people, look at that minister is misbehaving. Go and tell the minister, Mr. Minister, this is wrong. So only after he's got the information, you can tell the next person. These 2 rules help us really to go straight for us. I'm trying to say that before Justin Muturi went in the media and said he should have said it to the people needed to know, and I think he did. And I'm sure even DCI knew these claims already in the media that these abduction cases have not been investigated. So the question is, do we mean that the left doesn't know what the right is doing? In government, there's no such like that. That's only about heaven. If you want to go to heaven, then the right should not know what the left is doing. But in government, we cannot say that the left does not know what the right is doing.
Okay, now that you've talked about something, let me ask the Gen Z. The Gen Z's representative. Remember during the time of when you're starting the revolution of the Gen Z's revolution, going on the streets, there are some of the CSS that you didn't want to go back to the government, and it was quite unfortunate that William Ruto took them back. Somebody like, in fact, you say that do not recycle, and then you quite unfortunately, just like I've said. People like Murkomen went back. Muturi was the Attorney General by then. And then he was brought back again as the CS. Now, they started crying. I've had quite many times I've heard Murkomen saying that right now he's not a politician. Right now he's working as the CS of Interior and is going to deal with the Gen Zs who are going against the government, who are putting William Ruto in a casket. Now, what are you going to do concerning this? Because at first you rejected it. You went on the streets and then you fought about it. Your pleas were heard, your cries were heard, and William Ruto acted positively, but not as you expected. And then Murkomen was brought back, went to sports, and then few months taken to CS of Interior.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Number one, I want to note that a historic revolution happened. And this historic revolution diffused even among the older people, not only Gen Zs. So even now that we speak, it is not only Gen Zs that are criticizing the government. And one strategy that Ruto has been using in his government is ethnic strategy, where he's bringing people close to him as per his ethnic background, the Kalenjin men and all those. Number two, the government is ill. It is rotten inside. It is corrupt. And there are a lot of things to be covered. So the only people who know how to cover these things, they use a lot of thorax. You know, they are not rational enough. So that's why recycling, in my opinion, that's why these cabinet secretaries were recycled. A lot of looting had happened. And I think this one is evident in every sector. If you check at the health sector, even up to now, that we are speaking, people are crying in health sector, education sector. You are seeing it's down, and it's for the first time that these mega sectors are going down. But there is money. There's every resources that we need outside there. But it's like these people have planned. It's like they had invested in this government, and it is time to return this back. What I want to tell the people is that the Gen Zs are not fighting Ruto as a person, as an individual. Yeah? The Gen Zs are not fighting Kipchumba Murkomen as an individual. The position that Ruto holds in this country is the position for the people of Kenya. And indeed, when a president is ruling and the feedback in the ground is negative, then I think it is only within the wisdom for him to go to the ground and check and listen. And I think that happened even in Kibaki Tenua. When things were going north, the people demanded that the cabinet secretary were to be dropped. They were indeed dropped, and the new people came, and the work happened. You know, there were no recycling. I think Professor and Dan may affirm that there was no recycling. The competent people were brought on board, the likes of Mishuki and all those. Yeah. So what diseases have been fighting? The new strategy, the story of Coffin and Kipchumba Murkomen threats. Kipchumba should know that the people have attempted all the strategy to relay information to them that the things are not going on well. People decided to go on the street, and there were a lot of mandamanos then, but they were killing people. And the people opted that they were saying that if we go to the street, we are destroying the properties of the people, we are killing, we are hired, we are being paid. So what do youths were to settle? They saw that the only weapon they were having was technology, of which not only in Kenya, even if you go to Britain, even in South Korea, yeah, the youths are using technology to correct the government. You know, there's something that Professor Gola said in one of his books that I've read, something to do with technology, what we call the social entrepreneurship. And he was saying in the book that if you go in countries like Malaysia, if you go into countries like Singapore, South Korea and Israel, youths have invested much in technology, and they are using it to bring income to them. Meaning, technology is a tool and a weapon that we can use to survive. And surviving, we can't survive when the political rules are so harsh to us. As youths, and this one even I said it last week, among the youths that hijacked the Gen Z thing and, went walk outside the like of Kasman, I can just mention them, the likes of Kasman, Nakuru and all those. What Gen Zs have been in need of is change of political system.
and now, just that you mentioned the issue of the Gen Zs, the people that hijacked, I would like to, you'll answer this in next round. Why are you being abducted? Why are you being abducted? As like why are youths being abducted? And when will it stop? And in case it doesn't stop, what are you going to do? Now you'll answer that. Let me ask Honorable Dan. Honorable Dan, I've realized something. I just want us to finish with this issue of abduction. Now, in Kenya, I think the last time, I don't know whether it was an interview with you or Professor Fred Ogola when I was asking this question, and I said that Kenya is going to be seen as one of the abduction sites, whereby everybody is being abducted without any reason. Remember Besigye, that is the opposition, the person that was opposing the Ugandan president, that is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, was abducted in Kenya. And Kenyan government said that they were not involved. He was taken back. Right now his case is in court whereby Martha Karua together with other lawyers are really supporting him. Yesterday, another person, another opposition, another person that is, in fact, she's a critic from Tanzania, was abducted in Kenya. It's being said that this lady was taken by three armed guys. Why is it that all these things are happening in Kenya in such a manner, and why is it that it is only in East Africa that you cannot rise to talk negatively about the government?
Yeah, thank you, Boniface, for that question. One, when the system has failed, and like our Gen Z here says, they start applying what we call thorax. That is a method used by people who have nothing between their ears. So instead of arguing and telling us exactly what is happening, they start trying to force things. When you see things happening like Muturi, and like what Prof has said, I'll mention related to that, the issue of Justin Muturi. And remember today, Dr. Peter Mbaye has just resigned from the government. I've worked with Mbaye before. I know him. He's a principled man. He's very bright. When he was MCA, he was the number one MCA for a very long time in the whole country, followed by another MCA from Chinga called Thuku, Kiruga Thuku. Those were top two MCAs. Today, as we speak, Kiruga went silent. Mbaye has resigned. Now, this tells you the environment, the working environment, like I said last time, in government now, is not conducive for bright people to work. And that is why people are silent. The reason, in my view, why you saw the former AG and the current Minister for Public Service giving a press conference yesterday is not because he's stupid. He knows what he's doing. He's daring the president, telling him, if you are man enough, fire me. Or he's going to resign. I heard from sources that there is an impending cabinet reshuffle, and Muturi could be one of the victims. So he's just preparing his supporters so that in case he's removed, he goes and tells them, you see why I was fired? Because I confronted this about these abductions.
So he'll refer to the statement.
Yes. Now, this issue of abductions is actually giving us a bad name as a country. Because even people visiting the country, they'll start fearing. If we had somebody like the opposition leader of Uganda being abducted here in Kenya, and some of our lawyers like Martha Karua went and tried to represent him in court, I don't know how the matter is. Yesterday, as you have rightly put it, a lady journalist was abducted here in Nairobi. Within our borders. This is something that the security organs are aware of. This is something maybe sanctioned from high offices somewhere. And this is something that we are saying, when you cannot argue and put facts on the table, only a fool resorts to such methods of dealing with the dissent. It is sad, but this is what is happening. And going back to those, like I said, people like Dr. Mbaye, we worked with them when we were mobilizing. And I told them very early, and many others, and if they listen to this, they'll remember. I told them, and they tried to call me and put me back on the table, and I told them, no, this thing might not work the way we are expecting. It has come to pass. The Ruto we have in power today is not the Ruto we campaigned for. Maybe we should do a do you do a postmortem on
For a
somebody
living
who's alive to just confirm that he's the real person who was campaigning before the last election? Because even if like today I've just seen a statement where he talks about parents having brought up their children badly so that they abuse adults. Who started abusing people?
It's him.
Wasn't Ruto going around calling Uhuru and Raila names? And were the children not watching?
They were watching.
These children learn from us. And I think there is no better teacher wa matusi kuliko William Ruto during the last campaign.
That's true.
So he should not pretend that he is holy now.
Now, before I go back to Prof. Can you just handle the question that I asked you?
It's unfortunate that the youths of the Republic, and I think this is the very first time that youths have come into solidarity to criticize, because they have not seen the future, and they're seeing future being crippled. So you asked why youths are being abducted, and when the abduction will stop, and whether there's a probability of it stopping. The reason why youths are being abducted, I was saying then that what youths want is the change of the system. Youths are not hungry for power. Youths want a change of the political system. Boniface, when political system is down, whether it is economic sector, whether it is agricultural sector, whether it is health sector, there's nothing that can work. We are living in a nation where agriculture can work and there's no health. We can't get our health benefit and all those. Then it is a dead nation. And the people that are coming up, are people that have been educated. And number one thing that these people should know, that there is technology. And this technology, youths, we can't run away from it. Even the old people are now joining it. Yeah. So the reason why youths are being abducted is because, number one, the original strategy of trying to voice our needs have been aborted a little bit. For example, people used to go to the street, and whenever people went to the street, they were saying that these people have been hired, they have been paid, they are destroying properties and all those. And now the system that the youths have applied is real and is reaching them directly, the media. So they're trying to do the abduction in order to stop the decolonization that the youths are doing, the media, and I don't want to call it critiques, but the education, civic education that we are doing. Because honestly, even me as a youth, I'm sick of being called a Luo or a lawyer or whichever. We are living in a nation where even if me personally, I'm coming from Sia County, we have a minister, I'm not benefiting as a person. Yeah, we are living in a nation where if you want to make a decision as per ethnicity, if you want to decide that if this person is not from this tribe, then we are a dead nation, because all of this time we have been going that direction, and that's why we are too much in poverty. So that's the reason why they are abducting. But abduction stopping, we know very well that Kenya is a country being ruled by the rule of law. And we know very well again that so long as you are not violating the law, then the law should protect you. And the law, no one is above it, be it the president, be it anyone. We know that if these things continue, and I saw yesterday in the media that more than 50,000 people have filed case in the ICC, we know that there's international law. And we know that in this international law, whenever a rule of law of a country is being bypassed by the members of the president and people in the power, then there is international law. Even if they don't stop, it will reach a critical point where they will not breathe. Because you can't abduct us, and we have not stolen, we have not killed, we have done nothing. We have just said that, health sector is not working, do it this way. Sports is not working, do it this way. Agriculture and education and all those. So we know very well that even if they continue, it will reach a point where it will stop.
Now, Prof, back to you. I want you to handle two things. The first one, just like I asked Honorable Dan, the issue of what is really affecting the East African presidents. Why is it that no one can go against them? You cannot oppose them. In case maybe they are doing something, just leave them to do it, even if it's something that is really affecting Kenyan or people. That is number one that I want to handle. And then you can also combine it with the yesterday's. I'm very sure that you heard regarding Gachagua yesterday speaking. And let me just quote something that he said, that hii matusi yote ni wewe ulileta, kwa hivyo usilalamike. Ulituambia Uhuru ni mlevi, Raila ni mchawi, na hii maneno ya kuwekwa kwa sanduku, mbona unaogopa kifo. And then also he talked about also the issue of IBC, whereby he was involving Donald Trump, telling Donald Trump to talk to William Samoei Ruto so that IBC can be formed. It's barely two years and we're going to the elections. We don't have IBC. So my question concerning this statement of Rigathi Gachagua is this, that why he talk about involving other countries in Kenyans things to do with IBC? Now you can tackle the first one and then you do this.
First of all, let me say something about what Dixon has said, because let me just clarify that not only youth are being abducted. Mm-hmm. Abduction is all Kenya. Yeah. I also want to tell my fellow Gen Z, because Gen Z here now means generation zote. We have the millennials, we have the Gen X, we have all these.
And just use the word gens.
Gens. So yeah. I also want to tell the gens that let us not start looking like we own something that is ours, because that was a big mistake we made during the Gen Z revolution, where it was more of leave us alone. We are now, you cannot do anything alone. We have to bring all generations together. And our common enemy is not generation. Our common enemy is the current system of governance, which is not delivering to Kenyans what they expect, or at least what they promise Kenyans are going to deliver. So, and the main reason why, as a psychologist, as an economist, the main reasons why Gen Zs are being, Gen Zs and all gens are being abducted is that somebody promised something that he can't deliver. He kept postponing it 100 days to 3 months. It went to 1 year. And now no one even is checking the timeline of any promise that he's delivering. So then he discovers that even no one cares even to ask him, how far are we? And these guys are coming out to really resent. And therefore the only response is to abduct them. Because what is abduction hiding? Abduction is hiding the killings which have taken place. People want justice. People want answers that you cannot be able to give. The economy is performing badly. Youths are unemployed. You gave a budget of 4.2 trillion and you freeze employment to young people who are going to school. I no longer celebrate graduations. I no longer celebrate these KCSE, KCPE. Because after that, then what? Unemployment. Parents are selling their staff to put money on education, yet the ones being arrested, being abducted are most brilliant. The most brilliant people are being arrested. So what I'm seeing is that the intelligence of the Kenyan populace is ahead of the intelligence of the Kenyan government, meaning that the young people, these people being abducted, they are more intelligent than the current government, that they can see this government from far. They can correct you in terms of corruption, in terms of service delivery, in terms of competence. So the only way to deal with them is now that you can't handle them, then what do? You abduct them, you disappear with them, you kill them. You suppress their intelligence. And the intelligence is so much, and everybody is so intelligent, that you cannot abduct 53 million Kenyans. Even if you abduct 1 million, they'll be there. Then I want to say that this is very ineffective. Do you know why? When 10 people on social media insult you, if you abduct 10 of them, each of them have 1 million followers. Immediately you become an enemy of 10 million. 10 million. Isn't it? So that's multiplying enemies, isn't it? That's multiplication of enemies cannot help you. If 10 people go against you and you go and engage them, 2 people will withdraw, then your enemies remain what? 8. So the president should minimize or divide or subtract from the enemies than to multiply. Because if I go and insult the president, isn't it? If the president tells me, Fred, my son, I'm your president. I've heard you, isn't it? This cannot work because of XYZ. Do you know my parents will tell me, please listen, the president has spoken, isn't it? But if you abduct me, Now people will come for you. They don't care what I told you, what I didn't tell you. Whether I said you are dead, or I put your name, or I put your image on a coffin. People have forgotten about that coffin now. The problem is, why have you abducted me?
Yeah.
So, Boniface, let's say, for example, you disagree with your wife, and then you decided to be safe, you sleep outside the house, isn't it? When you come back home, then your wife asks you, where are you coming from? Then you slap her, isn't it? Do you know that your claim of her disrespecting you is taken away? The issue is you slapped her.
You slapped her.
And there's no single justification for slapping her. You are in trouble. So, Mr. President, I'm telling you, even if these young people offend you, let me say, even if I'm giving you the benefit of
Just
doubt,
in case.
just in case they do, abducting them, we even forget about your claims. We focus on abduction because there is no constitution that protects someone from being insulted. But the constitution protects everybody against abduction.
Yeah.
So for them, they have done something which is within the constitution, but for you are doing something which is extra constitutional. And that's why there is no justification. Your question as to why are they being abducted, it is because that the head, which is the head of state, isn't it, is no longer leading the country, isn't it? It is the young people who are the tail that are leading the country. The head gets annoyed and forgets his role as a head and now start abducting people. So that's why we say the tail is wagging the dog than the dog wagging the tail. And that's a reverse movement. Because the guy is driving the economy with reverse gear. The economy should grow as fast as the human resource so that when people get graduated, they get a job. Then they won't come after you. Imagine hungry graduate.
Hungry graduate.
Hungry graduate. How can you deal with them?
It's very difficult.
That's why they are graduates, some of them more intelligent than you are as the head of state, and you're keeping them hungry and angry. They'll come after you and they'll use all methods
to reach you.
And when someone is dying of hunger, even St. Augustine allows you so still enough to keep you alive. It's justifiable. I'm a Catholic, I can tell you. Boniface, do you know if you are dying now, you can be allowed just to steal a toast and eat to stay alive. You are allowed by the church. That's not a sin. Because what you are doing, you are preventing a bigger sin. Dying of hunger is a bigger sin. So I'll allow these young people to use any method to prevent themselves from dying, which is now putting those things on social media. Now, I'll go quickly on the rest because this is very simple. On the one of the president, the presidents and the issue of Gachagua saying, you began this yourself and the rest. If Gachagua says the president began this himself, isn't it? And Gachagua was the second in command to the president, who can question that? You get me? If Gachagua, who was in the bedroom of Kenya Kwanza, mtu alikuwa anaweka mtego State House, sivyo? He's the one saying when your manza ikibu. Who can deny? Even Raila cannot deny. You understand me?
That's true,
So Gachagua is the main thing I said, people. Gachagua is the most dangerous politician in Kenya at the moment. Do you know why? He has nothing to lose. He has nothing to lose. What can he lose? He's not contesting because he has got the burden of impeachment. He can't contest.
But when is the decision being made? 25th this month?
I'm saying I'm talking about reality at the moment.
Okay.
Unless it goes the other way around. He has been impeached. And he has been removed from office. So unless otherwise overturned, as we speak, he has nothing to lose. Isn't it? And when someone has nothing to lose, they are very dangerous. You know that? That's why they say, don't argue with a fool, because a fool has nothing to lose. You understand? In an argument, a fool has lost already. So if you give them a chance, you're the one losing. For them, already they have lost.
Being a fool is losing. So.
It's already a loss. So that's why they have nothing to lose. Secondly, have you seen the teams under relegation? How they give trouble to a team that would win the league? Like you are number one, you're almost winning the league. Then a team that has even lost is going through relegation will stop you. So Gachagua is going through relegation. He's in the drop zone. So he can only drop you down. So that's why I'm asking Mr. President, be very careful with Gachagua. That is the person who's going to be make or break. And as you speak, you are playing in his gallery. You are playing to his strategy. So what he's doing, he's breaking you. He's not making you. And by confronting him, he's just breaking you and breaking you. So as far as I'm concerned, Gachagua is very right. Why is right? He has legitimacy. I can say William Ruto says this. I don't have legitimacy. I've never with him in any room, two of us, isn't it? But there's a possibility that he has been in the room, two of them with Gachagua. Yeah. So there's something Gachagua knows that no one knows. And that's the danger Gachagua. Secondly, Gachagua has been consuming intelligent information as deputy president, isn't it? And sometimes he still consumes them. So therefore, there's something Gachagua knows that he should not know. Now I go to the issue of these things of breaking the law in East Africa. Impunity. The only difference in Kenya is that we have a constitution that gives Kenyans a lot of power, sovereign power, and the Bills of Rights is very strong, and therefore this is just impunity. And I can tell you this is correctable. This is correctable if we get the right person. I can say, until we have the right person in State House, Kenyans have no right. And my last comments about the issue, talk about the issue of Gachagua commenting about the IEBC. Involving
Trump.
Now, I think that Kenyans can never solve their problem if they think their problems will be solved by outsiders. Americans are there just as a superpower to ensure that injustice is not meted on any citizens, but Americans are not there to supervise our elections. And I want to tell Gachagua to be inward looking, but why is Gachagua saying that IBC, that the US should actually supervise our elections by setting up IBC? You know, Gachagua was William Ruto and they won the election. And there's a controversy on how the elections were won. Is there something Gachagua knows that him and Ruto knows that we don't know? Maybe Gachagua is revealing that they used American to set up the IBC, the previous one, and then they won the election, then disbanded it immediately. So they want again to find who can be a friend to disband. But I'm telling you something interesting in Gachagua's point. I'm a psychologist. I can read Gachagua very easily. Gachagua knows that Americans helped set up the IBC last time. Who paid the 44 billion shillings that were used to fund the election? Most of that money was funded by the US. So the person, whoever pays the piper, holds the flute, the tune, isn't it? So who paid the piper? The piper being IBC, isn't it? So maybe Gachagua knows that the ones Americans paid the piper maybe on their behalf. Isn't it? And therefore this time he's telling Ruto, tell them to form it again. But what's Gachagua saying? Gachagua knows that there's a fallout between William Ruto and America. So he's telling him, go. Tell them to set up IBC, which means it will backfire on you.
So he knows very well that it cannot be formed again.
No. It will be formed, but not in his favor. And mark my words, I consume intelligence, not just Kenyan intelligence, but global intelligence. If Americans are going to have a say at all in forming the IBC, it won't be in the interest of William Ruto. And why I'm saying this, when I saw the Americans made a statement first that American companies, it has become difficult for American companies to do business with Kenya. Yet Americans, with self-interest, they could have helped Ruto form the next government with an interest to do business. Remember, who are the business people who attended his inauguration? They were American seasoned businessmen and women. Meg Whitman is an American business woman. And she was the CEO of HP, isn't it? That's an electronic company. Americans like selling electronics abroad, isn't it? Have they made their return on investment in Kenya under Ruto? No. Because under corruption, Americans' company do not do very well. That's why they usually try to topple a corrupt leader to allow them to do business. Because if American company does business in Kenya in a corrupt way, American authorities there will go and work against those companies abroad, even by boycotting their products. So Americans have not gotten their return on investment. And that's why they end up even to reveal the Adani deal. The indictment of Adani was not because Americans were protecting themselves. They were telling Ruto that we are not with you because Adani was Ruto's project. So the fact that Americans went on to reveal that Adani is too corrupt to do any business ending by Kenyans cancelling the deal, it simply means that the deal is sour between the US
and Kenya.
So then Gachagua is telling him, now go to them and tell them set IBC. He's telling him, you are on your own. Thank you.
Now, Dan, before I go to
maybe before you go there, there is something Prof said. You know, there is in business circles we say when there is a problem and a leader is unable to solve that problem, do you know what happens? The leader becomes the problem and the problem becomes the leader. The fact that Ruto has been unable to deal with this say Gen Z issue, I'm not saying it is a problem per se, but in the government circles, in the intelligence circles, the Gen Zs, or all generations, as Ogola says, are the problem. How is the government dealing with this problem? They are completely unable to deal with it. And that is why Ruto, as the leader of government, has become the problem. And therefore, the leader, who are these generations we are talking about, must now deal with him because they are the ones leading.
Now, maybe Dixon will handle that after answering this question. This question of IBC, I heard yesterday Peter Salasa talking about something. Remember me telling you that I'm seeing something going to happen here. That church leaders, churches are going. They might decide to stand with one of them and say that this one is a leader that God have chosen to lead us. The same mistake that happened back. Peter Salasa yesterday said that even the IBC should be formed by churches. Like we have one from APC, we have got one from Catholic, we have got one from Islam, we have got one from Hindu to form an IBC, so that in case of any problem, they know that it is the church that have misled us. What is your take?
One, on the question of the faith groups deciding to back one of their own, it is not unconstitutional. It is possible. What we need to be clear about is to separate religion and state. And that is the one of the mistakes that these administrations made by pretending to erect an altar in State House. And that is why I asked last time, suppose the next president is a Muslim, will he build a mosque there? And what if we have somebody who is not a believer? What happens? So that is the thin line that this administration has been unable to differentiate, trying to impose their faith and their beliefs on other people. On the issue of IEBC, like I said last time, we are treading on dangerous grounds. Where we are now, just under 3 years to the next election, and we don't have an IEBC, I think it would take a miracle for us to have a peaceful election in 2027.
It's true.
We might have an almost repeat of 2007. Why? Because we are waiting until maybe when it is about a year to election, then we impose people. Those in power, we know who decides about these things. They'll bring in their people and make them commissioners, and they are likely to mess up this process again. And that is why on that one, Professor Ogola, with all due respect, I want to somehow partially agree with Gachagua. Not because these foreign countries are better than we are, but you see, when you are fighting, when you are an interested party in a war, you need a neutral referee. I think a neutral referee would be somebody from even an unknown country, leave alone the US. Let's even get somebody from Siberia and tell them they don't have an interest here. Go and be as neutral as possible in the Kenyan election. Because if we are going to go to look at the Americans or the Chinese and so on, they might come here because of their business interest. We just need somebody who will be a neutral referee. Otherwise, whatever is going to happen...
By the way, Dan,
yes.
For the sake of our audience, there is no one who is neutral. This has been stated. Yes. Even Jesus is not neutral when you are talking about comparing the Muslims and Christianity. There is no one who is neutral. You know, by socialization, we already lost freedom.
True.
The way I was socialized, there's a question, is a human being really free? We are not free. Because the school where your mother took you determined the man, the lady you married. The stories you are told when you're growing up. For example, for us, we grow up being told that light ladies are beautiful, isn't it? The song sang in Luanyanza, isn't it? Nyalando, isn't it? Ngutongol. So when you see a woman with something on her neck, even if the neck is doing nothing to you, you are being told that a woman with those
with
rings,
the lines, the rings on neck.
yes, they are beautiful. So you might be going for what people want, but what is wrong? That looks like sickness. But for you, you are brought up knowing that they are. Like now, in Luo culture, but also other cultures, a woman with a gap on the lower teeth is paid more dowry than one where they're even. So how does that gap help you? It's useless, isn't it? But perception has made you lose freedom in your choices. So what I'm trying to say in short, even Americans normally have interest. Even if it's UK, they have interest. But even Kenyans have interest. So what I was trying to say there, I did not disagree that American can do, but I'm telling you, Obama came here. Let me quote him. When President Obama was speaking his speech as a senator in University of Nairobi, he said that every nation has got its national interest. So he told people, Americans will not come here to help you just because you are Kenya. And he told Kenyans, align your interest with American interest. And then you succeed. Even in marriage, don't do the same. Your wife has an interest. Align your interest with her interest, you stay together. You disalign it, you'll quarrel forever. Like I should tell my wife that there's one rule here, that we are not here to sink. Yes, that we must not sink. Once we have agreed with that rule, then we can fight left and right, but we won't hurt each other. Because if you hurt me, we sink together. If I hurt you, we sink together. That is the rule of the thumb. So even in this engagement, that's why Ruto and Gachagua, they never knew they are sinking together. That's why you had Kufa Makanga, Kufa Dereva. Because there's no way Makanga can survive and Dereva dies if they are driving on the same vehicle. Because if you don't get enough money for the day, the owner of the car wants the money. The matatu owner wants the money. So if you sabotage your driver because when Makanga, mtalala njaa. So Kufa Makanga, Kufa Dereva, because every coin you collect, you share. So this is the point. So interests are there. And anyone telling you they have no interest, their interest is to make you feel they have no interest. But then that is an interest already.
Budan, do you have something to add before I ask Dixon?
That was in reaction to what the MP from Mumias East was saying. He wants the faith groups to form the IBC. It is also a good idea, assuming these people are reasonable.
So you bear with him.
But you see now, also we realize some of these people are in churches and mosques and so on because they didn't have anything else to do. So they opted for that as their source of income. I'm saying this with a lot of respect to men and women of God who are doing the work of God out there. But I've also interacted with some close enough to know that many of them are in it because of the offering they collect every Sunday and the tithes they collect every month. Not because they care about any human being. So they are just people, men and women like us. So whether we go this side or the other side, anyway. Yes.
I'm a Catholic, and that statement is offensive. You know, let me give an example. I have a brother who is a priest.
Yes.
When he sits in our family meeting, when he's putting on his shirt and t-shirt, we tell him anything. When the man calls and addresses in his we call it cassock.
The cassock.
Alb. And put on the chasuble. We see the guy differently. When he says, in the name of the Father, Son, we just see now a priest. In the name of, I'm telling you the truth.
Please don't misquote me. Let me correct this.
They are not just men.
They are not just men and women.
No, they are not.
They are men and women if they put on a shirt and a t-shirt.
When I was in the seminary, there's a seminarian who was dismissed when he said, Sister Ninguo too. He was dismissed.
That statement.
Yeah, that's the wrong. I'm telling you, it
I
can go that
understand
deep.
you, sir. I
So-
understand you, but for the sake of those who will be listening, please listen to me so that Prof doesn't mislead you on what I'm saying.
Yes.
My point is, these men and women of faith, some of them are good.
Thank you
Some
very
of
much.
them.
That's okay.
Now he's right.
No, that's okay.
Some of them.
By the way, I also say this with a lot of authority, having attended some theological classes, by the way. I was in training to be a pastor, but I never became one
What happened?
for some reason.
Story for another day.
That is a story for another day. But even if this election, we decided we are even going to have angels to supervise it, it will still be a problem. Why? Because of the question of trust. People have not had enough time to get to know and trust the commissioners who will be. You know, it is under 3 years to elections. Even if we put the commissioners in office today, Prof, as a presidential candidate yourself, I heard you say you want to run for president. Would
No.
you want-
I don't want. I'm forging alternative leadership.
Good.
Whether I want to run for president,
That one is
it's
not,
neither here nor
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Alternative leadership.
In the process of forging that alternative leadership, would you want a neutral referee?
Yes, but you see, in
No,
Kenya,
Prof. That
is
question.
one.
that is an answer already.
No,
That is
because
question one.
I don't know why he's asking you that question. He should
Wait.
ask himself because he wants to become a member of parliament.
Yes.
So my worry is, why is he asking you that?
Even
And
as a Kenyan,
as a Kenyan,
do you want a
point
new
is- The
referee?
point is, can you listen to my point first? The point is, at this time, I cannot even trust my own mother to supervise that election.
But if a neutral referee without VAR is still useless. So that's why Gachagua is saying maybe Americans will be the VAR.
do you have anything to add?
Maybe you can bring your question and then we summarize, because I'm seeing time.
No, I just want to. I just want to close by talking about this issue of IBC. What is your stand, like the Gen Zs and your thought, the IBC?
Actually, I too saw the Kalonzo sentiment.
Do you think? No. Let me ask this. Do you think you as the Gen Zs should also be involved in forming the IBC?
You know, IBC is an independent body that is brought as a bystander, you know, as a neutral part. I think there are some qualification that should be looked with, which comes with some experience.
Yeah, that's true.
So being Gen Zs, we don't have the experience, but in part of supervision, maybe the Gen Zs can be part. But the role that Gen Zs can play much in relation to the IBC and the election is, number one, registering as voters. Number two, because there are some roles that youths are being given, the supervisors, those who give direction and all those. So they should apply, and by that, them being at the polling station will mean a lot, because Gen Zs are now neutral. I think the closing remarks that I can say is, I want to tell youths that there are some of us that I jacked the objective that we had, and they have put some selfish motive inside them. We have one goal, and one goal is economic prosperity and economic stability, as being young and as being the people that are going to occupy the next space. What is happening is that if we let these people continue the way they are running, then we'll get everything eaten.
Wow.
We are not going to have even a single thing to inherit. So Kenya is for us all, being whether you are a youth or an old person, whether you are a white, or irrespective of your tribe and all those.
That's good.
So let's unite in a unity of purpose. And I pray that God may give our leaders wisdom, so that we may not be threatened the way the CS of Interior threatened. There are some words that he said that I think if you can watch this, it is not good as a leader to threaten young people who are just fighting for the well-being of a country.
Honorable Dan, your last words?
My last word, wisdom. You know, not every old man is wise. And not every young man is stupid. I want to agree with my brother from what he's saying. But I also believe the Gen Zs, if that commission is going to be formed, because they are the majority in this country, they have also a right of representation. They need to have somebody there who will go there for their interests, and not those who will go there to make money. Like I've seen the young people who came up as their leaders are doing. They are now divided, and the old men and the women are very good at divide and rule. That is the same old method that Moi was using.
The divide and rule.
So a few of your colleagues were simply called and given plane rides, helicopter rides, and a bit of money, and they forgot the vision that they had on that day in June. Was it 25th?
The 25th.
Yes, when we were about to kick out this government. And by the way, we were following you people very closely. Then somebody decided to go for a handshake. This time round, in case we have such an occurrence, I think we go to the end. It doesn't make sense for us to fight halfway. So let people register as voters in big numbers. The youth are the majority. And whatever Oscar Sudi says, whatever Kamket says, you know, I heard Oscar talking about filling in where the votes will not be enough. Even if they try to fill in and the people have decided, it will be so clear. We will know who is the enemy of this country. Thank you.
My comments is that I think that Kenya is our business and our business is Kenya. A united Kenya cannot be defeated by anybody. Forget about how many those people feel they are, how much powerful they are. United Kenya cannot be beaten by anybody. And I want to tell people that those saying, because the president said something that I want to tie to my point, that he has no competitor in 2027, he's going to run against his own record. And his record we know, isn't it? And I don't want to go there. The record we know, Adani we know, we know Shah, we know Chief, we know finance bill, we know abduction, we know fake fertilizer. We know that is the record that we know. If there's another record, let him tell us. So if he's running against that record, then he has beaten that record. But for us, we are running a race against lack of integrity, isn't it? We are running a race on leadership, good leadership. We are running a race of economic growth, economic development. We are running a race for stability. We are running a race where unemployment needs to be created. So that race also we know, isn't it? So who is going to win? It's clear. The president needs to know he's going into an election having had 17% approval rating at the beginning of the year. No one can go to an election with 17% approval ratings and win fairly. So if there's an IBC, it's very clear where the president will go after the election. Because Kibaki went to the second term when he had 48% approval ratings. And he nearly lost the election, if at all he didn't lose. Because some people can say Raila Odinga beat him. I don't want to take that statement because people will say it's because I come from Luanyansa. But he went to an election with 48% approval rating. He struggled. Let me say he struggled to win the election. Whether he won it or not, now let God say his part. And I want to tell the young people, the Gen Z, and I want to disagree slightly with Dan. The Gen Z have not lost. We never lost a war. We won. We entered parliament. Raila Odinga plus any other people doing mandamano, they have never ever even reached Harambee Avenue. We entered parliament. Tell me anybody with the experiences they are saying they have, did they enter parliament?
No, they did.
We won. We won, by the way, we won 10-0 in parliament. We have not played the match in State House. So that match cannot be counted as a loss. We never said occupy State House because we have never played that match. The day that match will be played, it will be won. But for now, let me tell the young people, let us stop waiting for William Ruto to do anything. He has been president for more than 700 days, isn't it? What he told us will do and what he told him to do for us, he has not done. He is not doing.
And he will not do.
He won't do. He is unable doing. He has no capacity to do. He will never do. Therefore, I'm asking young people, let us form alternative leadership. That alternative leadership, when we confront him, in a fair election conducted by IEBC, independent.
Electoral.
You know, it can be called IBC, but it's not IBC. The day we shall have an independent electoral boundaries commission, we will get alternative government. Then we shall tell William Ruto, this is your track record for the past 5 years. Look at our track record. And then our track record will demonstrate that the fact that we are young doesn't mean we don't know anything. And I can tell you, don't sell for us long experiences. You can be experienced in mismanagement of everything. Telling me I've been a husband for 50 years doesn't make me smaller as a husband for 3 years. Because if you have been mismanaging your family, I don't need that experience. If you have been a president for 10 years, mismanaging the economy, I don't care. Moi was president for 24 years. Is that the only record? Is that the only record you can put on the table? Put on the table economic growth. Kibaki was a president for 10 years. The economy grew at some time double digit. You have been a president for 24 years. There was no double digit growth, if at all there was a negative growth. So William Ruto should be telling us about this record, a record worth being proud of. Which record is he talking about that is fighting against? This record is very easy to win because there's a reverse. He's reversed the gains Kenyans had. Freedom, constitutionalism, isn't it? Freedom of expression. All that has been reversed. So that's not a record worth talking about. Let us talk about a record worth talking about. Let him benchmark between William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, Mwai Kibaki, Moi, and Kenyatta. Who is the best president and who is the worst president? Between the executive, where he's the head of state, compared to parliament and judiciary, who is the worst? That's better benchmarking. But don't benchmark to us on nothing. Because I can tell you for sure that if the president goes to election this way or today with the 17% approval ratings, you cannot win the election. Let him be wary of the Gen Z constituency. There's a constituency the president does not have. Out of the 290 constituencies, there's one constituency he does not have. Do you know that constituency? Is the Gen Z constituency. I'm being told here there are 5.6 million. Isn't it? Where is he going to get those votes from? Because you can say, if I lose Bungoma, I can bring Kiambu, nizime Bungoma. Sivyo? Lakini, hii tarakanite ya 5.6 million, which constituency inaweza zima hiyo? Sijaona. And that's why I am very hopeful and I'm lucky. And let me end by saying, being a Catholic, I'm happy that the Pope Francis has declared 2025 as a year of abundance. If Kenya will have abundance, I think this abundance must happen in the absence of the current administration. I think the Pope's blessing can bless Kenya by sending this government home this year. I'm not waiting for 2020. Because if the Pope has said, it's not us who said, the Pope has declared 2025 as the year of Jubilee, the year of harvesting. What are Kenya going to harvest? Are we going to harvest abduction? Are we going to harvest corruption? We are going to harvest crops that we can eat. Are Kenyans going to harvest hunger? They are going to harvest food. I'm not speaking. The Pope is the prophet. I remember, by the way, Bon, the Pope is infallible in matters faith and moral. Hope is under the purview of faith. So I cannot stop being hopeful that Kenyans are going to harvest. Can you harvest something with the current administration? If we can't, then there'll be another administration. Can't we be the one harvesting the next administration to lead it to the next level? Questions for another day. We leave it there and we pray to God that the Pope's prediction goes right. Because look here, all the cathedrals in Rome are being opened. The doors that are never opened, the Pope has opened them. The Pope has asked Bishop Obala to open doors in Ngong that he has never opened in the cathedral. Bishop Anyolo is opening doors in Nairobi Diocese. There are doors for the cathedral. Remember, there's one cathedral in the world called St. Peter's Cathedral, isn't it? Then all cathedrals called minor cathedral. So the one in Nairobi here is called minor cathedral. The one in Kakamega is minor cathedral. The one in Malindi, minor cathedral. Mombasa, the same. So the main cathedral has been opened in Rome, isn't it? Now all the minor cathedral must open so that harvest can come in. You understand? So that's what I'm waiting for. What is the time? There's no better year to be than 2025. Thank you.
Now, let me.
I almost thought he's trying to convert us to Catholic.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
You went and did theology.
Yes, I did.
And I did a bit of theology.
Yes.
And the professor here, the way he is speaking, professor also wanted to become a father,
Yes.
or maybe a pope. So, I don't know.
That topic can only happen the next time.
That topic.
When we go into theological matters, we might not finish it. It's a long story.
Yeah.
We'll go into other things and start talking about sins and so on.
Actually, I just want to appreciate you. Our time is up. I just want to appreciate you guys for hearing my call and coming.
Thank you.
It's been a very great show, and I really appreciate you for that. One thing I can tell our leaders is that a leader without followers is very simple. It's like taking a walk. And sometimes you may think that you are leading, but if you are a leader without a vision, it's like a captain that has got no compass, because we don't know where to go, how to go, and who to go to. Until we meet again in the next video, if it is possible, I've been your host, Boniface Owino. Bye-bye.
Thank you.